So speaking of a massive corruption scandal, the Spygate aspect of Russia, of the Russia scandal. Now, we had the Clinton DNC dossier. Remember, that abuse of the FISA court process is only one aspect of the corruption here. Because remember, they were using confidential informants, spies on the Trump campaign to try to entrap them, it looks like. The FBI and DOJ and who knows what other government agency, looks like maybe the Defense Department, CIA perhaps, were sending spies, it looks like, to target the Trump campaign. And the one person who's been named as one of the so-called informants is Stefan Halper, who has a lot of connections in government, specifically to the Defense Department. You know, you've heard a lot of story, I'm sure you've seen all the noise about John Brennan having his security clearance revoked or pulled by President Trump. Well, he has no right to a security clearance. You know, it's a courtesy security clearance, which is necessarily corrupt. Why on earth would any government allow courtesy security clearances out there? What a risk to our nation's security. What if you work in government and you deal with classified matters, you need a security clearance. And our new client, Adam Lovinger, had his security clearance, we believe, improperly pulled as a result of his complaining about two issues. Pentagon contracts for Stefan Halper, and also Pentagon contracts for a group known as Long-Term Strategy, a firm owned by Chelsea Clinton's friend. So a Clinton crony gets a bunch of contracts, Stefan Halper gets a bunch of contracts, our guy, Adam Lovinger, is complaining about that, and it looks like in retaliation, he had a security clearance pulled and revoked. Now, Stefan Halper, according to, and I think the Washington Times reported this out. Let me get on my glasses again. According to USAspending.gov, Mr. Halper was paid $411,000 by Washington Headquarters Services, this is out of the Pentagon, on September 26, 2016. Oh, wow. 2 months before the election, for a contract that ran until this March, so this March of 2018. Also, a string of contracts totaling $11 million was granted to DC consulting firm Long-Term Strategy Group. It is headed by Jacqueline Newmyer Deal, a self-described best friend of Chelsea Clinton. So Lovinger files his complaint about these contracts because he was wondering what's going on here. He knew what Halper's didn't seem to be producing much in the way of content worthy of $500,000 almost in contracts. So Lovinger filed his complaint about these contracts in fall of 2016. In May of 2017, he had a security clearance revoked. And he's been fighting it for ever since. And, you know, Lovinger is a great guy. I mean, he's our client, so of course I think he's a great guy. He worked for an organization in the Pentagon called the Office of Net Assessment. Basically, it's a really storied aspect of the storied office in the Pentagon. It's their big think tank. And he specialized in issues related to U.S.-India, Persian Gulf, Sub-Saharan Africa, places where we might want experts. He's an attorney. He's an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. And prior to having his security clearance revoked, he was assigned to the National Security Council in the White House. Once his security clearance was revoked, he had to leave the National Security Council. So he's asked for his records. He's appealing this retaliatory effort. He's not getting the records he's asking for in response to, they admit they have records about this, the way they handled this revocation of his security clearance. So Judicial Watch has come in and sued for him to try to get the records. And he's represented by a great lawyer. You may have seen him on TV talking about the case, Sean Bigley. So this is a big deal. So you have this whistleblower highlight specifically what is going on with the Stefan Halper contract. What is going on with these contracts for this Chelsea Clinton crony? $11 million in contracts for the Chelsea Clinton crony. And he gets his security clearance revoked. So when you hear the establishment and the deep state whine and complain about a corrupt figure like John Brennan getting his security clearance revoked, for good reason, think back to our client, Mr. Lovinger, who lost his security clearance. These are all deep staters making these decisions because he blew the whistle on misconduct. That's what it looks like. There was no good reason for them to pull his security clearance. And of course, you know, when they pull your security clearance improperly, in my experience, the bureaucracy comes up with fake reasons for pulling it. So they drag your name through the mud in order to justify pulling the security clearance. So this is what Lovinger's facing, and thankfully his story is getting more prominence as a result of media attention, as a result of Judicial Watch's lawsuit. We're proud to be able to help him.